Our first urban legend is said to have happened between late December 1980 and January 1981. There were several reports of a mysterious sighting on Kennedy Hill Road in Byron, Illinois. It all started on a Sunday morning a couple of weeks before Christmas. It was a very cold, snowy day when a woman who was returning home from church saw a lady with very long blonde hair. She was barefoot, wearing nothing but a pair of shorts. This really caught her attention because it was freezing outside. However, the sighting of this mysterious lady didn't stop that day. Many claim to have seen a thin, tall, blonde woman in her 20s, and they say her skin wasn't like skin color, but more like a milky white or a pearly white. She was always walking in the cold, snowy winter, wearing nothing but light summer clothing. Sometimes she was seen wearing shorts and a halter top, other times underwear and a scarf, and sometimes just a nightgown or just being half naked. But she was never dressed for the kind of weather they were having. She was always alone. Sometimes she was seen during the day, but mostly she was seen on the dark, desolated road at night, with nothing but a flat open farm fields to the right and left, and a few trees, and no place to hide or find shelter. So as people were driving on the road and they see her, they were worried that she either was in danger or maybe she would freeze to death. So they would go and turn around, but by the time they did so, she was gone. There were so many sightings of the woman that the police were called not once, but multiple times to find her. However, after they searched, they found nothing. Eventually, people started to call her the Phantom Lady of Kennedy Hill Road. That winter, it was reported that cars were bumper to bumper along the haunted Kennedy Hill Road, as curious crowds gathered in search of the Phantom Lady. There are a lot of theories about who this Phantom Lady could be. Some people believe it was Anne Bergman, who was killed along her boyfriend Octavio Martinez in 1962 near Rockford, and whose case is still unsolved to this day. Others think it was a local woman that met a violent death, or a woman buried in an ancient cemetery that was plowed and turned into a cornfield. There are others that believe it's a woman killed by a hit-and-run driver, or a car accident, or maybe a woman that ran away from home. The Phantom Lady of Kennedy Hill Road became a media sensation, and 5 consecutive articles about the sighting were reported in the Rockford Register-Star. A reporter named Diane Mutz collected dozens of eyewitness accounts from what she described as credible sources. And according to her, these sources claimed to have seen the woman walking along the road, and by the time they stopped to see if she was okay, she had disappeared. Decades later, rumors of a possible hoax began to circulate. They say a girl that lived in that area will go around half naked to prank drivers. However, witnesses don't believe that's true because the winter was so harsh, they believe no living person could go around outside naked without dying from hypothermia. By the time the snow melted that spring in 1981, the Phantom Lady of Kennedy Hill Road had disappeared. There are some who believe she still haunted the place. Do you think she's still there? Let me know in the comments. Our second legend began on July 25, 1977, when the Law family from Lawndale, Illinois was enjoying a hot summer day in the backyard. The kids were playing outside and the parents were relaxing and cleaning up after a nice meal. Then they saw a big shadow cast over them, and as they looked up, they saw 2 giant birds flying above the house. So one of these huge birds just swooped down and with a large pair of talons just took the 10-year-old boy named Marlon Lowe by the shirt. And this was not an easy task because this boy was anywhere between 50 to 65 pounds. And the bird started to carry him away. So you can imagine everybody was like screaming and yelling, and Ruth, the mother, heard the commotion and ran to the door to see what was happening. And all she could see was Marlo's feet like dangling about 2 feet from the ground as he is being dragged by this giant bird. Now he was thrashing and tried to free himself, and Ruth jumped into action and she started chasing the bird and screaming herself and doing anything she could to make the bird release her son. For 35 feet, the bird continues to take the boy until the mother was able to scare him away. Now that day, there were several adults in the backyard who witnessed the attack. They described the creature as being huge, as black as coal, with long, wide ringed neck and long curled beaks, and the wingspans were 10 feet or bigger. They called the police and told the story, but as you can imagine, the police didn't believe the boy was attacked by giant birds. However, even before this horrible episode in 1977, stories of giant birds in Illinois have been circulating as early as 1673, when French explorer Peter Marquette records seeing a petroglyphic of a huge winged creature near Alton, Illinois, known as Piazza, the monster bird, which means the bird that devours men. American Indians have shared their stories of giant birds too, which they call thunderbirds, due to the sound they make when they're flying. They describe these birds as having a wingspan of 20 to 40 feet or even more, with hooked talons and razor-sharp beaks. Now, returning to 1977, there were other sightings of these creatures in July and August of that year. A woman in Arlington saw a similar bird, or maybe even the same one. 6 people in McLean County reported the same experience. And 3 days later, a farmer from McLean County saw a giant bird fly over his farm. And Jane Majors, while driving from Amington to Delavan, saw the giant bird along the highway. One of the birds swooped down and grabbed a small animal and then flew away. Some claim that the small animal was actually a pig of 40 to 50 pounds. Then, on July 30th, Texas John Hoffer filmed 2 large birds at Lake Shelbyville. The footage was later broadcast on a television station in Champaign during a newscast. But what are these creatures? Well, nobody really knows what they are, but some believe they could be a California condor or a turkey vulture, or even a prehistoric pterodactyl. However, many believe it's an unidentified creature known as the Lawndale Thunderbird. What do you think? Our next legend began on April 25, 1973, when Harry McDaniel, a 50-year-old man, had just returned home in Enfield, Illinois, when he heard a very strange noise in the back door of his house. He stood up and went to see what was making that noise, so he opened his back door, and initially he thought he was looking at an animal, but then he realized it was something he had never seen before, a monster, standing right there 3 feet in front of him. He was not scared. He looked at the monster and saw that it had pink eyes shining at him like a reflector on a car. It had a large head and a short body and 2 little short arms. The creature was gray with hair, standing about 4 to 5 feet tall and on 3 legs, and somewhat standing like a human being. The monster was trying to get into the house. In fact, McDaniel even claimed the monster tore up the screen while trying to enter. He slammed the door shut and went inside to grab a gun and a flashlight, and when he opened the door again, the monster had moved 12 feet away from his house. Without any hesitation, he shot at the creature not once, but 4 times, and knew without a doubt that he hit the creature at least once because it hissed like a wild cat and leaped 50 to 75 feet in 3 jumps before disappearing into the bushes down the railroad tracks near his home. He called the police, but by the time they arrived, the monster was gone. However, they found some tracks in the soft dirt around the house. These tracks were similar to those of a dog but had 6-toe paws. They also found some fur in the bushes. They passed, and on Sunday, May 6, Henry heard a dog barking like crazy at 3 o'clock in the morning. And as he looked outside, there it was, the three-legged monster on the railroad tracks about 75 feet from his house. The monster was simply walking down the railroad. Later, he found more tracks around his home, about 3 to 4 inches across with 6 toes and little hoof marks. The news about this creature spread widely, and many tried to hunt the monster, and at least 5 men claimed to have seen it and started shooting at it, or as a matter of fact, at anything that moved. They were arrested for hunting violation. White County Sheriff Roy Portia Jr. said after the arrest, "Ever since the creature business got started, we had people milling around here with guns and drinking. And if I don't put a stop to it, somebody is going to get killed." Now, there are many theories about what this creature could be. Some believe it might have been a kangaroo, with the third leg actually being the tail, especially after an Ohio man stated that it could have been his pet kangaroo, which was lost or stolen the previous year. However, Henry said, "I know what a kangaroo is. I used to have one when I was in the military service back in Australia." Others think it might be an unknown type of ape, especially after an anthropology student recorded a screech that sounded like one. Whatever this creature is, or is not, it has not been seen again to this day, but it is still known as the Enfield Monster. Have you seen it? Our last legend is about the haunted Blood Point Road and Blood Point Cemetery located in Flora Township, Illinois. The road, known for being haunted, was actually named after Arthur Blood, the first white settler of Flora Township. The legend goes that at some point in the 1950s or 60s, a school bus was driving over Blood Point Bridge when it got into an accident. The driver lost control of the wheel and it hit the rail, and the bus fell 30 feet down to the train tracks and killed everybody inside. After the accident, legend has it that strange things started to happen. At night, people claim to hear children crying or sometimes even laughing at the train tracks under the bridge or in the surrounding forests. Others claim that if you park your car in the middle of the bridge and put the car in neutral, the ghost children will push your car across the bridge. Some even claim that if you put baby powder on the outside of your car, you will see multiple little hand prints from where they pushed the car. It is important to mention that there are no official reports of a school bus crash at this location. However, this is not the only spooky, creepy thing that had happened at this bridge. Some people claim to have seen the decomposed body of a woman with red eyes who people believe was a witch. The legend goes that in the 1800s, there was a woman named Beulah that lived in the area, and the town people believed she was a witch. Arthur Blood's children found her one day under the bridge, and they were mesmerized because she was able to produce flame from the tip of her fingers. However, the father, Mr. Blood, was very unhappy with this and he forbade them from visiting her. When she found out, she got mad and she unleashed a winter from hell that killed livestock across the region, and it created massive fires and disease. There are conflicting stories about what happened next. Some said that when Mr. Blood found out that the children were still friends with the witch, he hanged all 3 of them from the old Blood Point Railroad Bridge to save their souls. Others say the witch, after being accused of witchcraft, hung her family and then herself from the bridge. As the tale continues, the witch was buried in Blood Point Cemetery. Nowadays, people claim to hear the witch voice at the cemetery, or to see her apparition at the bridge with horrible decomposing skin and a rancid smell. Lastly, it is said that bad luck will come to anybody who look at her. The Blood Point Cemetery is said to be haunted as well. This very old cemetery is located at the end of Blood Point Road, and it was founded in 1836. It is said the cemetery is guarded by hellhounds with red eyes. These dogs appear out of nowhere, attack you, and then vanish as quickly as they appear. Legend has it that no matter how fast you are driving, the dogs can keep up with your car. Once they catch you, they will bite and then disappear. People who have gone to the cemetery claim they have feel that they are being pushed or scratched, or that they have seen an orb that is floating in the air and then disappear into the surrounding fields. Others claim that they have seen an orb, sometimes a red orb, that chase them as they are trying to run away. There is a barn that is said to vanish into thin air, and some have experienced their car doors being mysteriously closed or opened by an unseen force. Visitors have heard laughter, seen shadows, or full-body apparitions like a woman in a white gown. They have also feel like they're being touched or have problems with their phones or cameras. There's one that even claimed that they were possessed. On the road, there have been sightings of a headlights from a non-existing car or a phantom vehicle that pulled right up to someone's bumper and then just vanished. Have you experienced anything like that? Let me know in the comments.